Lake Apopka is once the second largest lake in Florida, and if you talk to any people who lived here a long time ago, they'll tell you how beautiful it was. You could see the fish before you cast to them. It was a big bass fishing lake. It attracted celebrities from all over the country to come fishing there.
As a child, I used to come here from Tampa and fish, and it was pristine, lots of fish, beautiful place. When I moved back here 20 years later, after I went to school and everything, I found that it was completely dead.
Through a series of, I guess we'll have to call it, people thinking they have a better idea of what nature should be, Lake Apopka was slowly spoiled and damaged. After World War II, DDT and a lot of man-made chemicals were considered kind of miracle chemicals for the agriculture industry. They killed insects really well. As a matter of fact, Rachel Carson calls them biocides because they don't just kill the insects, they kill a lot of other things at the same time. And when the fields were cleared at the north end of Lake Apopka, it revealed a lot of mucklands, which are highly fertile for a while. But then they tend to oxidize and they don't include all the ingredients that are needed for healthy crops. So then becomes the need to add fertilizers and then deal with pests through insecticides, and this was common agricultural practices. So when these chemicals were in use during all this long agricultural period, which is about 40 years, all of that again was getting exchanged and pushed into the lake system back and forth through this water exchange as well. But by this time the state of Florida decided to start cleaning up the lake, the first step they felt was to get rid of these agricultural fields, to take them out of production.
We finally got to the legislature and got some money appropriated. We finally discovered that the farmers were not going to compromise with us. Either we had to buy them or go away. And so we had some tough decisions because that was a big project. And so we finally resolved that and got the legislature behind us, appropriated money to buy it.
So the farms were bought and closed down, and then these fields were cleaned up, everyone thought, to the best of their ability, and reflooded to recreate the marshland that had once been at that north end of the lake. Unfortunately, in the late 1998, 1999, this marsh looked beautiful to migratory birds. And that's exactly what it was supposed to look like. Unfortunately, what the birds didn't know and what we didn't realize is that a lot of the fish in the lake were contaminated with a lot of chemicals. And as a result, almost 1,000 birds died that winter. In the meantime, one of the issues I think is important at Lake Apopka is the plight of the farm workers who once worked on these lands. If you think about it, not only did they live in the area, but they were, many of them, if you hear testimony from them, will tell you that they were sprayed while they were out working in the fields. So these chemicals that killed the birds were sprayed regularly on human beings that were out in the fields, many of them women of reproductive age whose health may have been impacted as well. And when they shut down the farms, these people all lost their jobs. And a lot of them lost their housing too. So there's also a human side to all of the Lake Apopka issues. Like I said, the bird deaths are very well publicized, but there's also this more quiet issue that I think is of environmental injustice that happened among the farm worker community as well.
There would be no farms on Lake Apopka if there weren't farm workers to work on the farms to produce the vegetables and herbs that were the products of the farms on Lake Apopka. Pesticides on Lake Apopka caused reproductive problems with alligators, and it caused birds to die on Lake Apopka. It had to have effects on people that were working on the farms day after day, week after week, for months and for years, being exposed to the pesticides, being directly sprayed upon by crop dusters and tractors applying pesticides, taking home pesticides on their clothes and in containers. Farm workers were exposed to pesticides too.
Just a day after we reported that none of the lead pipes poisoning the water in Flint, Michigan are being removed.
It was one of the worst environmental disasters in American history, and it happened right here in our own backyard.
While the NAACP has launched a civil rights investigation, into a controversial industrial practice. They're arguing there's been disproportionate public health discrimination in poor communities affecting people of color.
It is those most vulnerable above us which get the most injustices. When you look at the sites across the country of where there are problems, you will see that there is a cluster of poor people, of black people. In some states and cities, I can't speak to Florida, but some states and cities, there are actually the city planners, when the cities were first developed, said only people of color can live here, and only Latinos could live there, and white people can live here. So then when it came time to put factories in, or medical waste incinerators, or dump sites, or some other undesirable, they put it in the black community first, the African American communities, then they moved it to the Latino communities, when the black community was full. And so historically, it has been a pattern of the development of this country to begin with, is that they segregated the communities, and with that segregation also went the nasty industries.
So the farm workers on Lake Apopka were African American, Haitian, and Hispanic. And they're all low-income minorities, and there's a history of exploitation of farm workers in general in the United States, and Lake Apopka was no exception.
We worked from the early part of the 60s to 86, and throughout those years we were sprayed everywhere.
And pesticide was on that clothes. It was just like, pesticide was just like syrup on them clothes.
They literally poured the chemicals on the farm, and we worked out there. We had the sand all over us. We had muck storms blowing all in our face and eyes and ears and whatever.
We found fields that were so contaminated they must have poured barrels on it. If they'd done anything close to the normal application, they would not have had that kind of contamination.
Yes, I have lupus, which my daughter and my granddaughter died of. Arthritis. Yes, and through that, lupus is an autoimmune disease. I lost my sight at one point. I lost my hearing. I've been when I couldn't walk. I done had 7 or 8 different operations, so yes, it affected me.
Next was 2 pounds and 13 ounces. And the next one I had 5 pounds and 9 ounces. And I had a set of twins. 4 pounds and 15 ounces another weight. 4 pounds and 10 ounces. And when I'm died at the age of 3 months old, they say crib death. And then my last baby, the other one, she died 2 days after Christmas last year. She was 38 years old. And had learning disabilities. And I often wonder why they had learning disabilities. didn't know this stuff had something to do with it.
But we got kids on respirators. We got kids that have eczema bad in our area. I mean, young kids of the day, 4, 5, 6, and whatever. Tell me why our community is so heavy with all kind of stuff with kids. We almost out of here. So that's what I speak out for our children.
Agricultural exceptionalism. Farm workers and domestic workers were deliberately excluded from laws that included all other workers. And why? Because of the history of slavery in the United States.
I don't think you can be too passionate in that position. Yes.
It's a story that needs to be told because of what it means nationally, internationally, what it means about our agricultural system, about pesticides, about health. So Lake Apopka is a local issue that has national and international ramifications and implications. We said, okay, why don't we get environmentalists and business, growers, and workers all together to make a model program for the whole country to show how these three entities can work together in the best interest of everybody. And they wouldn't do it. The environmentalists, including Sierra Club and Friends of Lake Apopka, basically said, we're not going to do your work for you. Good luck. We care about the farm workers, but it's not our work. Good luck. And I'm like, wait a minute, you guys are missing the boat, man. Don't you get it? This is environmental justice. You're alienating a whole group of people, including myself, okay, because you're not addressing this issue.
We started out at the beginning on the right track. They understood that we wanted to clean the lake, and we understand they were protecting their jobs. In fact, the whole city of Apopka was pretty much developed around the farming industry. And so we tried to work with them a lot, but they wanted nothing less than our focusing on saving the farms or building more farms or whatever for economic things. And we went through a lot of stuff there, and we tried very hard to compromise with the farmers. So we kept some of that industry. We worked as hard as we could with them, and they just flat refused to do any of that. They said, you either buy us or you go away. She wanted us to form with them in our organization, and I explained to her, we can't do that. You start your own organization. We're going to focus on the environmental issue, whatever it is. You focus on the economics. And so that didn't work. And so we ended up being really, really opposed to each other because of that.